So first I like to say, okay, what are we doing on our day-to-day practices? Just like I kind of touched on, we need to make sure that we're fueling our battery of our body. Well, are we getting in enough hydration, getting in those good nutrients, sleeping enough? Are we moving enough throughout the day? Are we getting sunlight? Are we getting love? Are we getting friendship? All of these things really do play a role in the signals that we're going to feel within our body. And so going back to the basics, going back to the baseline, how often am I getting out of my chair and moving? How often, or can I get a different chair? Can I get a chair that kind of forces me into a different posture sometimes? Can I get a chair that supports me in standing? Can I get a chair that, how can I switch up my environment to create different postures throughout the day? And that's the most important thing, because it's not creating the perfect posture, but it's creating the next posture that we're going to go into. That's really what we want to achieve within our body. It's not how do I create this perfect statue, because that only increases more tension within our body, but how do I move from sitting at a chair to standing, to walking, to sitting at your coffee table on the floor? How do I move my body in all these different ranges, I think is really incredibly important. And then knowing that, we're going to bend down. That's okay. We're going to round the spine. That's okay. But we do want to build strength. So as much as we want improved mobility within the hips, we want to be able to increase our hip external rotation, our hip internal rotation, because external rotation is really that ability to open up those legs and get into a deeper squat. Internal rotation is that ability to be better hinge at the hips, go into that deadlift where we can lift something off the floor, where our hips are going to take over the majority of that strength and that power. When we can gain better rotation and mobility from those hips, then we have the ability and the access to gain better strength. And it's our hips that are really going to help to support our back. And then we want to also pay attention to our diaphragm. So remember how I kind of talked about that diaphragm underneath that rib cage? It plays a role in our core stability, because as my diaphragm moves down and I breathe out, I get some pressure on my pelvic floor, and then I get this natural responsiveness. But if I don't know how to breathe from my diaphragm, well, how much pressure am I putting into my pelvic floor? Or my hips tilted? And this is where, we can go down a rabbit hole of this, but I think the pelvic floor for everyone plays a huge role in our core stability along with our diaphragm. So this inner support of our body, that's the core we should be talking about. Not, our six pack, not how long can you hold a plank, not all of these other things, but how are we playing a role with this breath and inner core stability? How are we building our hips from our mobility to our strength? And then how are we moving more throughout our day? Those are going to be key components in keeping us really healthy in our back and continuing to move and feel great.